Hello everybody and welcome back to my Let's Play of Star Trek Judgment Rites. We're starting a new mission called Rites. Due to the USS Regulus being diverted to another mission, Starfleet's asked us to take their place in researching something called the Antares Rift, which has a dangerous reputation. This episode is actually a very interesting one. It has some nice intriguing stuff, and a lot of it takes place on the USS Enterprise. And this is also the first one where your landing party does not consist of Spock or McCoy in it. Okay, first let's check the computer for Antares Rift.
Antares Rift, an area of unstable space near the star Antares. Little is known of its properties. There have been numerous disappearances in this area.
Kind of like your Bermuda Triangle, sounds like.
The Antares Rift. It should be a most interesting assignment.
How so, Spock?
There have been several attempts to chart it. All expeditions into the rift vanished, without a trace.
But those expeditions were years ago. Our starships are far more capable than they were during the time of those attempts.
Captain, a 10-year-old child is far more capable than a 3-year-old child. But there are many problems that neither child can solve.
Hailing frequencies are open, Captain.
Raising shields.
You might want to raise shields just to make sure. Kind of. Okay, I know where it is now. It's this area. It looks kind of like a nebula pattern, so. Or rift pattern, or whatever that kind of anomaly is.
Captain's log, stardate 6257.6. We have entered the Antares Rift and found spatial disruptions in the rift that make using warp engines extremely dangerous. Repairs are almost complete on the minor damage we suffered upon entry into the rift. We are continuing our survey using impulse engines.
My poor babies. Warp engines were meant to be used, Captain.
Communications are back online, Captain.
Deflectors at 93% power and increasing.
Captain, undoubtedly that phenomenon would explain many of the strange disappearances in this sector. Still, with our warp engines deactivated, our computers indicate we will be safe.
Oh yeah, that looks perfectly safe.
Communications are out again, Captain. Is anyone hurt?
Take a look at the damage here. Part of the hull section there. It looks like both phaser banks are inoperative. One part in the cell, shuttle bay, another part in the cells, and some areas here. The hull's taking a beating, same with the part there. Bottom part of the saucer section. Man.
If he was human, Mr. Spock's pride might be...
Why is his text red?
Captain, sensors failed to indicate anything unusual prior to the explosion. I would speculate that it was caused by an extremely unusual rift in the space-time continuum, a place where radically different physical laws apply.
And since it was different space-time, our sensors weren't programmed to detect it.
And it could happen again at any time without warning.
This door leads to the turbo lift. The damage readout for the Enterprise has gone crazy. There are obviously problems with the ship's damage registers.
Yeah, there's too much damage here. It's almost like the ship's been destroyed almost.
The damage readout for the Enterprise has gone crazy. This is the second time that hailing frequencies have gone down today. Lieutenant Uhura is not having a good day. James Kirk worries about the safety of his ship. This is where Kirk sits. The captain's log is stored here, as well as a record of landing party assignments. Mr. Chekhov sometimes wishes he had a safer occupation, like handling antimatter. This seems... Mr. Sulu has complete faith in his captain, who has gotten them out of worse predicaments than this. Ensign Walker came to the bridge to discuss discrepancies in the last damage control report. He now wishes he was elsewhere. Mr. Scott wonders how he'll look like a miracle worker this time. Mr. Spock is trying to determine a way to detect the rifts before the Enterprise is destroyed. This is the science station, where Spock scans anomalies and operates the ship's library computer. Ship's short-range sensor display for the science station. Now all it is displaying is static. The communications station. This is where Lieutenant Uhura is normally located. Mr. Scott's home away from home, aka engineering. This allows access to some of the more important engineering functions from the bridge, most notably damage control systems and emergency power and internal sensors. This is the ship's navigation station. This is Chekhov's pride and joy, allowing him to enter the ship's headings and to prepare the weapons in the Enterprise's, fortunately few, space battles. This is the ship's helm station. From here, the helmsman can control the ship's shields and its orbital heading.
Let's see what we could say.
Any ideas, Lieutenant?
I was barely able to reroute the necessary connections last time, Captain. Communications are completely useless now. We may be able to enter codes into the library computer and instruct others to send messages to us.
Status, Mr. Chekhov.
Captain, navigation is not responding. The circuits are as lifeless as a Stalinist.
We need to make communicating with the rest of the ship our first priority. Status, Mr. Sulu.
Helm is not responding, Captain. The controls are completely dead.
Ideas, Mr. Walker?
I'm a security guard, sir, not an idea man. Still, if we could send out probes to detect these rifts, we might get a better idea on whether they're moving or not, and whether we should stop and make repairs, or keep moving.
Scotty, what's our status?
Very bad, Captain. Whatever hit the Enterprise hit us right in our own neighborhood. The hull is breached 6 meters from the bridge. Beyond that, the instruments are useless. I can't read or send anything through these controls. We'll need a starbase to make this bridge functional again.
Scotty, how about auxiliary control?
Captain, I cannot determine the status of anything beyond the place where the rupture occurred. The rest of the ship could be dead as far as we know.
It's kind of a creepy thought.
Captain, I believe I may be able to adjust the sensors to detect these spatial rifts and pilot the Enterprise to avoid them. However, the sensors are too heavily damaged here. I will need to get to auxiliary control as soon as possible if I am to reroute the necessary systems.
Mr. Spock, the bulkheads were breached just outside of the bridge. No one's going to be able to leave the bridge for at least an hour unless they're transported out.
It's stuck. We're not getting out of here that way.
Captain, the library computer is online. Apparently, its circuits were shielded from the explosion. Captain, I have managed to program a message into the library computer. The first time a person accesses the computer, they will read our distress signal. Hopefully, they can code a reply into the computer, which we can access. Captain, the transporters are operational. I request permission to be transported, so I can begin the adjustments to sensors as soon as possible.
Go ahead, Spock. No, Spock, I'll go first. Go ahead, Spock.
That's interesting.
Spock!
What was that?
The controls are still not functioning, Captain.
Captain, this bridge is useless. For our own sake as well as Spock's, we have to find a way to get out of here.
Captain, What was that thing?
I don't know, Mr. Chekhov, but I intend to find out.
Captain, we need to get off the bridge. I recommend we keep monitoring the science station and see if anyone answers our messages.
Captain, that thing with the 4 arms wasn't Mr. Spock, was it? That beam wasn't some sort of transmutation beam, was it?
I don't think so, Mr. Walker, but the two have to be connected. Spock, what happened to him?
I think we use Chekhov on
I can take care of that, Captain.
Oh, it's Sulu.
I'm patching your log into the computer. You should have voice messages.
Captain, we've managed to jury-rig an evacuation tube through the bridge turbo lift. We should be able to keep it stable long enough for you to be evacuated.
Okay, good, so we can get out of here. Close the door and Sulu. No, kids, just kidding. Okay, the bridge is useless. Let's go to auxiliary control. That's where Spock was heading. See, so now we have a
Captain's
different...
log. After equipping ourselves with tricorders and phasers, we are now searching for a way to find Spock and return him to us. I've determined that the best place to start...
Ooh, another hit.
Captain, it's a very good thing we took the warp engines offline.
How bad is it, Scotty?
That explosion was 42% stronger than the one that struck near the bridge. Our left warp nacelle is crippled, Captain.
I hope it's not a trend. Keep me posted, Mr. Scott. Kirk out.
Now, we have a different crew things than Spock and McCoy. Now, Sulu does act as a science officer, and Chekhov acts as the medical officer. And there's a red shirt, which, if I remember correctly, you can't find a way to make him die in this one. They kind of took that part out. I think people were kind of upset that you can't do, if you do that, you get points lost, even though it happened all the time in the series.
This seems pointless.
Yeah.
This seems Turbolift monitor. It says that the turbolift is on the auxiliary control deck. This screen shows the layout on this deck. The door directly ahead of you leads to the auxiliary control. Hikaru Sulu has seen more than one attempt by aliens to take control of the ship, and they've always failed. James Kirk wonders about his friend Spock's safety. Angus Walker wonders how they're going to remove the aliens this time.
Same as Angus.
Pavel Chekhov is a little nervous right now.
Awaiting orders, Captain.
I could use advice. Suggestions, anyone? Spock.
I know, Captain. We miss him too. Well, they say the price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
What does that mean, Sulu? That we should have been more vigilant? How could we, if the sensor said nothing?
Well, maybe if Starfleet sensor designers would be quicker to modify their sensors to react to new phenomena.
You two are as bad as Spock and McCoy.
I'd feel more comfortable, Captain, if we knew what happened to Mr. Spock.
What's I gonna do? Oh, I want to check the communicators.
Kirk to Scott. Come in, Scotty.
Captain, I got bad news for you. This rift is affecting the hull of the ship. Our hull integrity is dropping fast.
How bad is it, Scotty?
It's at 92% and dropping rapidly. According to our system specs, if it drops below 63%...
Put as much powers as you can to the shields. Use them to support our hull integrity. Divert as much power as you can to the sensors. Let's find out what's causing this. Evacuate all people from the outer decks. Divert power from life support on those decks evenly to shields and sensors.
Captain, that'll only add about 2% to the shields and sensors.
Do it, Mr. Scott.
Aye, Captain. Squad out.
I don't know if that's the right choice or not, but it sounded like the most reasonable one.
Kirk to Scott. Come in, Scotty.
Captain, the hull degradation is continuing. It's currently below 92%, but at the rate it's dropping, we have less than an hour before the ship is destroyed.
It's not good.
Kirk to Scott. Kirk to Uhura. Come in, Lieutenant.
Captain, I've moved operations to Galileo 2 shuttlecraft. I've sent a message to Starfleet Command, and I've rerouted internal communications to run from here.
Lieutenant Uhura, what happens if the shuttle bay is hit by an explosion? That's one of the most vulnerable areas on the ship.
That's a risk I'm prepared to take, Mr. Sulu. I've activated the shuttle's shields for protection.
Good. Be prepared to evacuate the shuttle on my signal. Kirk out. Kirk to Scott. Kirk to Uhura. Come in, Lieutenant. Kirk to sick bay. Bones, where are you?
Jim, what the devil are you doing to the ship?
Oh, sounds like he's right there.
I'm not the one doing it. Spock's gone, Bones. Someone took him from the ship. Some aliens that I've never seen before.
If you can find these aliens, get me a medical scan on them. I might be able to find some way to combat them. Make that a priority. McCoy out.
Is it my imagination, or is Dr. McCoy getting a little power crazed lately?
I'd say a lot power crazed, Hikaru.
Let's get in here and...
Our highest priority is control of the sensors. We must find Spock.
I'll handle it, Captain. Remember, I was a physicist when I first joined the Enterprise.
Ah! Captain, look! Captain, I'm getting a sensor reading on the alien. I'm sure Dr. McCoy will find this data interesting.
Oh, transporters is out.
Captain, what happened?
It appears our alien friend likes its privacy.
Now, if I remember correctly, if you didn't get a scan on him before he knocks you out, before you get transported out from there, you could actually use a phaser on the door and burn a hole and do reading through there. But we got the sensor reading before that, so we could actually just go to sickbay. Let me go down to the deck. And also, if you saw my Let's Play at 25th anniversary, that this is very similar to how it was on the Republic and the Vengeance mission. Okay, I'm gonna call it a Let's Play here, so...
Save new game. Replace previous game.
So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.